All right, so we have our fun little del tool, which is some vector-ish thing, a vector calculus operator in my terminology. And we've done almost everything we can with it. We've applied it to a scalar function, and that was the gradient. We've crossed it with a vector field, and that was the curl. And now the last thing that we could possibly do with it, because mathematicians have to do everything, is we can dot it with a vector field. And that's going to give us what we call the div of f, or the divergence. And divergence is a pretty well-named thing. It says how much stuff is going away from each other. So let's just look at these three pictures. So here there's a lot of stuff going away from this point, which is probably the origin. Here everything's just moving in a current, so probably not going away. And here everything's going towards. So we might call that like the opposite, or a negative divergence. Let's just check that. So this is actually 2 dimensions. So everything except curl can be defined in 2 dimensions. So we'll go down to 2 dimensions. Let's call this vector field x comma y. It does look like the arrows are getting bigger, and they're always pointing in the direction of the point they're in. Let's call this vector field, everything looks like it's going in the direction 1 comma 1, so we'll just call it that. And we'll call this vector field, maybe we'll call them 3 different things so that it's not confusing. We'll call this vector field, this looks like the first one, but pointed the opposite way, right? So negative x comma negative y. Okay, so let's just calculate the div of each one. So del dot f, and we're now in 2 dimensions. So just take the partial of the first component with respect to x, which is 1, plus partial of the second component with respect to y, which is 1. So the div is, we have a constant div of 2. We're going away at a rate of 2. Divergence of 2. What about the second one? Del dot g, partial of 1 with respect to x is 0. Partial of 1 with respect to y is 0. OneNote isn't quite working anymore. So the div is 0. We're not diverting anywhere, we're just traveling in one direction. And then del dot h, partial negative x with respect to x is negative 1. Partial negative y with respect to y is also negative 1. So this is, as we said, a negative divergence, a div of 2. Everything's going towards a point instead of away.